All right. Hey, everyone. Or I should say here, I'm going to put it like this. Hello, traders. That's my trading view intro that I got made fun of for. Anyway, this is Mark P Markets. How's everyone doing? Welcome to my live stream. I am simulcasting on TradingView today. So you know what that means, other people. I have to, follow house rules. Okay, anyway, so in today's stream, I want to thank you all for joining me first. Today we're going to talk about this Bitcoin price action because there's a lot of questions about it. And we're going to talk about some other markets like the stock market and gold, things like that, because there's some interesting things going on there. And I want to talk about some of the trades that we recently sent out. All right, so with that said, let's get started. This is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. And let's go to the chart. Okay, so let me get a chart on here for everyone to see. Can I get a chart? Okay, here we go. All right, cool. So we're going to start with Bitcoin. But as you know, today is Monday. And on Mondays, what we do is we go over the economic calendar real quick. Okay, hold on a second here. Let me get this in. All right, cool. All right, so by the way, for those of you that are new to, there we are. For those of you that are new to the stream, I'm going to first run through my analysis, okay? I'm going to talk about my things real quick, and then I want to answer your questions. So please put your symbol, your stock, or if it's an altcoin, make sure you put USD after it so I know that it's an altcoin and I don't spend 3 hours on the wrong symbol. Also, make sure you press the like button. Also, register for the channel. For those of you that are watching on the other channel, and let's get this thing going here. Okay, so, oh yeah, also, I wrote an article on TradingView yesterday. So if you have any questions about that article, please do me a favor and ask in the chat now, because that gives me an opportunity to answer questions about that article also. All right, cool. So let me get this thing going here. All right, now, today's Monday. So what do? I go over the economic calendar. I'm not going to put the economic calendar on the screen. I'm just going to go over it really quickly and read you the things that are important. Okay, so today is the 15th. All right, so President Biden spoke earlier today. Obviously, the market, I guess, liked it somewhat because the NASDAQ is now up 98 points, and it was not that way earlier. Okay, Australia, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We have Australian meeting minutes, RBA meeting minutes. But a lot of these are not a big deal. Okay, on the 16th, tomorrow, 7:30 a.m., we have retail sales for the U.S. These are not big market movers. Now, on the 17th, which is Wednesday, okay, we have at 1 p.m., Fed monetary policy statement. Now, that can be important. As we know, the FOMC meetings, if they change something or if there's something unexpected, there could be a dramatic move in the market. Recent ones have not shown any dramatic moves. So, you don't have to go crazy over it, but you definitely want to be aware. The press conference begins at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So a lot of times leading up into these type of events, the market can become very sluggish and very indecisive, especially if you're day trading. All right, so something to keep in mind there. Then we have New Zealand. I see here gross domestic product. That's on the 17th at 4:45 p.m. That's not a big deal. Australia also on the 17th. Unemployment rate. Those are going to be important if you're trading those Forex pairs. On the 18th, we have at 7 a.m. we have the Bank of England interest rate decision. So we have another FOMC type of meeting for the British pound. So if you're involved in that, it could have an effect. But with the dollar situation going on, a lot of these Forex pairs, again, it's all about the dollar. I mean, that's just the way it is. And we've been avoiding a lot of these Forex trades until things become clear. And if that dollar reverses its trend, which we're going to talk about, then we may have some Forex trades to consider, at least some swing trades. So we'll talk about that. But so keep that in mind for the pound. That's on the 18th at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. And then they have a bunch of other reports here, but these aren't that important. I'm not even going to mention them. Okay, and they have their interest rate decision. Okay, that's all at 7 a.m. Now, on the 18th, we have Australia retail sales, and then Bank of Japan interest rate decision, another interest rate decision. Now for the yen, again, the yen is a currency that can have an effect on things. There used to be a pretty tight correlation between the yen and the S&P at one time, but again, these are not things that you can really trade off of, but you want to be aware of. All right, so I just want to mention those few things. All right, now let's get into Bitcoin, and let me say hello to everyone in the chat. So what do we have going on here in, okay, TradingView? Hey, everyone say hello. Please put your symbols in the chat, and let me talk to my other chat here. Got lots of questions, lots of stuff going on in here. All right, hey, Paul, nice to see you. Ricky, cool. Hey, DJ, happy, good to see you all. Michael, hey, nice to see you all. Alex, okay, cool. All right, so let's get into Bitcoin first. And I want to try to spend as little time as possible on these things so I could spend more time on your questions. Now, this Bitcoin situation, on Saturday we had this breakout, right, into the 60K area, 61K. And yeah, I'm sure there was a lot of celebration, new highs, all this other nonsense. We're going to 100,000 tomorrow type stuff. But here's the thing with that. This purple box that I have, or this blue box that I drew on my chart here, the wide one here, this one right here, that's a reversal zone, okay? And in that area, that was between 58K and basically 62K. That area is a high probability reversal area. Now, does it guarantee we'll get the reverse? No. But if the price is going to reverse, chances are it's going to happen in that area. The first sign of that is usually a pin bar or an inside bar. We got that yesterday, okay? We got that inside bar, and I put in our other chat, if we take out that low, which was 58,959, we take out that low, that will be a sell signal. Now, as you know, we don't short Bitcoin, so we're not interested in taking shorts, but this could call for adjustments for those that have taken swing trades previously that don't want to take any chance that this thing doesn't go for the other high. You want to take profits off the table if you're still in a decent portion. I don't even remember where the second target was on this thing. It was around that 60,000 area. I know we had one target get taken out, but the second one can be tricky at times. So that gives you a chance to make your own adjustment if you don't want to hold it. A lot of times, like for example, I won't send out adjustments because I don't want to interfere with the trade. If it goes back to the stop, it goes back to the stop. Okay, or break even, at least I have a choice to get out there. A lot of times it's usually not a good idea to interfere. How many times have you been in a situation where it doesn't look good for whatever reason, or some news comes out, you get out, and next thing you know, the next day or two, it's up another 100 points or whatever, and you missed the whole thing, right? So, Jumia was a great example of that. Anyway, so that's the situation with Bitcoin. There's a sell signal. So what does that mean? That means, for one, we're not buying anymore for now until, for one, at least for a swing trade, we need to get to a support level, okay? My next support is around that 49K, 50K area right here. So if price is not in there, I'm really not interested. A lot of people are going to start taking longs a little early because they're going to watch their small time frame and they're going to say, oh, it's a long, blah, blah, blah. But we only look at the daily chart for these swing trades, and there's nothing there right now. Now, it doesn't mean that this thing won't find a buy signal sooner, but right now there's nothing there. So if there's nothing there, there's nothing for us to do. Now, this is different from the position trades and the inventory. Some people are asking questions about inventory and buying inventory. These, look, it's a small pullback, relatively speaking here, okay? Some people say small, it's 2,700 points. Well, relative to this bigger structure, it's not a lot. So, pullbacks for inventory is really more of a time thing rather than a chart thing. So you could say, look, on the 1st and 15th of every month, I'm going to buy some Bitcoin. That's inventory. So today happens to be the 15th, and you buy some for that reason only. It doesn't matter where the price is. But if you want to wait for prices that are much more attractive or have a greater probability of reversing or just a deeper pullback, you want to wait for deep supports. 50K is one, 47K is another, 37K is a big one. Those are the levels really for inventory, okay? I don't know if Bitcoin will get there, but if it does, that's when that opportunity comes about. It's trying to second guess and trying to guess this and trying to guess that. It's really, you're just getting caught up in all the randomness. All right, so that's pretty much Bitcoin. Now here's the thing with this. Some of the other altcoins, okay? Uniswap, UNIUSD. This is a swing trade that I sent out a few weeks ago, and it reached its second target, basically, right? Target 2 was $35. This thing went to $34.93. I know some people got out on that, but it didn't actually, at least not on Coinbase, it didn't reach officially the second target. So in this type of situation, now look, there's a lower high in place. Bitcoin is starting to pull back. So in this type of situation, like I said, I'm not going to send out an adjustment because it may find a higher low sooner and then go to that second target. But you have an option. You have a choice. If you say, well, I don't want to give anything back, well, this is a chance. I mean, you have a sell signal in place, and this is an opportunity to perhaps reduce another third, take another third off, right? Reduce your risk, or just do nothing, right? But like I said, it can go to the stop. I mean, the stop here is at 1950. It can go there. What if Bitcoin goes to 45K? These things are going to get hammered, especially since these were not really making new highs. Look at link against the dollar, right? This was another one. That blue box here is a target zone. Touch target 1, and that was it. So now that Bitcoin's starting to pull back, these relatively weak coins are probably going to feel the pain. Litecoin, okay, another one. Never made a new high, okay, relatively speaking. And now Bitcoin, has made a new high, and these things are stuck. These were very vulnerable spots. People that got sucked into this, they faced a very high magnitude of risk. And I wrote about that in the article. Anyway, okay, so that's what's going on with those. I'm going to answer other altcoin questions here in a moment. So I just wanted to highlight those real quick. Now, some of the ones that I've been noticing that have been ignoring this Bitcoin situation, something like AVA, USD. I mean, look at this. It's messing around up here, but that thing is not pulling back. So that is something that I would classify as relatively strong, but I don't want to buy it on the highs, especially with Bitcoin starting to pull back, okay? So we have to see how this thing's behave. But some of these coins will do their own thing. It could be news-driven. It could be whatever reason. I don't care what the reason is. I'm very short-term oriented. I'm looking for momentum. And I don't want to be buying highs. So if this thing pulls back, for example, it might be a decent candidate for a swing trade. We have to see. All right, so those are the coins that I wanted to go over. Let's take a look at the stock market real quick. All right, so we're going to go to NSX USD. This is the NASDAQ 100. Now, this is tricky. So we had the president speak earlier, and before, I actually sent out a chart earlier, and the NASDAQ was giving an inside bar intraday, right in the middle of the day here. And I just want to take myself off the chart so we can see the chart a little bit better here. And here's the thing. Now it's a green candle, right? This is the current candle. This thing is up, what, 68 points right now? The NASDAQ, 70 points. So here's the thing with this. Some people may get sucked in. You're going to see the news. Someone mentioned some interesting stuff about about trading platforms earlier, and about how many of these platforms are just full of just all this hype and all this stuff to stimulate you and stimulate trades. And I was comparing that to a slot machine, right? So in these type of situations, there may be stuff going across your news ticker. There may be all kinds of weird things going on, and you're going to think, oh yeah, it's going higher, I'm going to buy it. This is a bad place to be buying, all right? Stocks, many stocks that are highly correlated to the NASDAQ or the S&P. Why? Why do I say that? That's an inside bar. This thing is going to close in about 40 minutes, okay? Now, if we take out today's high tomorrow, today's high is 13,036. We take that out tomorrow, excuse me, that's going to be a buy signal. Okay, so that would be good for swing trades. That would be good for more short-term oriented trades. But if we take out the low instead, 12,874, that's a sell signal. Now, why am I more interested in the sell signal? Because this is a lower high over here. Okay, now the S&P and NASDAQ, I mean, the S&P has been, sort of doing its own thing here, right? And the S&P and NASDAQ they haven't been following each other very well, which is a red flag to me. They should be following each other. The S&P is still trying to hold up, but we're at this potential double top location, and it could produce a failed high, just like we saw with Bitcoin. Okay, so you have to be careful with that. So for that reason, I took for the NASDAQ, right, on Friday I sent out SQQQ, which will capitalize on a short NASDAQ, or it's basically the ProShares Ultra Pro Short Qs, which means if the Qs go lower or the NASDAQ goes lower, this thing will go higher. Okay, so I sent out an options trade on this, and we have to see how it goes. Now keep in mind, you may look at this chart and you may try to analyze the candles. The candles don't mean anything on this chart really because it's a derivative of a derivative, right? So the derivative index or instrument that you're trading is really where you should be getting your signals from. In that case, it's the NASDAQ, right? So if that NASDAQ establishes this lower high, I'm expecting SQQQ to do its job, okay? And we're going to need a pullback from the S&P. Now, I bought, those were June calls that I bought, by the way, which means we have a couple of weeks for this thing to do its thing. If 3 or 4 weeks go by and this thing is just pushing higher, we're going to have to get out and take a loss, right? We're not going to hold these things all the way to June. All right, so just wanted to mention that real quick. Now, let me just go over gold. And again, I'm going to get to your questions, everyone, so thank you for sharing your questions. I have a lot of questions to answer here. So let me just run through gold real quick, XAU, USD, and I'm going to get to your questions, okay? Now, so gold that we all know has been tricky, right? And we've been talking about the gold mining stocks for like 2 months now. And as we know, right, the gold is starting to perk up a bit. That's nice. We had the push off of that 1680 low area. We had a pin bar on Friday, and it produced a buy trigger today on gold. Now, people that have been bearish on gold are missing the bigger picture. The bigger picture is not bearish. That's a broad higher low. This is basically a wave 4, and we're probably off the bottom, coming off the bottom of it, which means we're anticipating a wave 5. A wave 5 in gold can easily test 2,000, okay? Or higher, theoretically should go higher. So we've been talking about things like Wheaton Precious Metals, WPM, and as you can see, Wheaton is a streamer, so they don't just do just gold. They finance or they're involved in other metals besides gold. So now look at Wheaton. This thing's up 53 cents today, back to 39.79. This is why these things are a better choice than buying gold outright. Not only can you ease into this with smaller size, I mean, even if you want to do 1 share at a time, you could do 1 share at a time and protect yourself if this thing just keeps going lower and lower. But we've been building inventory. This is one of them, right? Look at Newmont Mining. I mean, look, they're all popping nicely, and gold hasn't even started its rally yet, okay? Not really. All we have is a pin bar on gold, and these things are ahead. That's why the mining stocks are so much better, especially for longer term type of position trades, okay? So anyway, I just wanted to mention those. If you're in Wheaton or you're in Newmont, just let them do their job now. You know, now you let it ride. We took all the pain, okay? Now it's time to let these things appreciate, and gold starts pushing 2,000, everyone's going to want to be buying these, and we're going to be selling them, okay? So just wanted to mention that real quick. All right, now, let me get to the chat, and let me answer all your questions. Let me start with that. Let me just see how I'm doing here with time. Again, I appreciate all your questions. Okay, not too bad. I'm about on time. All right, so let me start over here. Happy. What is your opinion of the SPAC investment? It seems to be low risk and high reward instruments. If you do invest in wizards, like, okay, well, look, the SPAC thing, they're basically, writing a check, and they're I guess similar to something like a Wheaton Precious Metals, where, they basically fund the operation, and then obviously they get, a piece of the action or whatever it is. It's just going to depend on them. I don't really have any opinion of them. As long as the chart looks good, that's really all I'm interested in. I mean, what's an example of a SPAC? I think is JKS one of these. It's one of these energy, Jinko Solar Holding. I believe they might be a SPAC. I'm not sure, but if I'm only interested in the chart. Okay, so opinions can usually get you into trouble. That's why I don't have one. If the chart shows me the type of setup that I want to see, then I'm interested as a swing trade. Like, so for example, something like this. If this is a SPAC and it looks like this, then it's in a decent position, a decent area for potential long, but there's no setup. That's all I'm interested in, okay? Because again, it's very short-term oriented. As an investment, I would have to do more homework, right? And figure out what is, how are they making their money? What is their business model like? I mean, I'm not talking long-term, I'm talking a couple of years. Are they paying dividends or not? That kind of stuff, right? So that's how I would treat those. That's why I really just rely on charts and stay with the short-term stuff. I don't have to spend a lot of time doing lots of research, okay? Because I can look at a chart and within minutes I can figure out whether this thing is strong or weak and whether I want to get involved in it. Okay, hey Paul, WDC. So he's asking about WDC for a swing trade. Oh, Doc, thank you. I got 500 TradingView coins. Okay, cool. Doc D's, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, Western Digital, WDC. So here's the thing, right? So we're talking about a swing trade potential. trend, that's pretty clear. Here, let me just take myself off the chart here for a moment so we can just see the chart a little clearer. Okay, hold on a second. I just have to get this right. There we go. All right, so we could see that this is higher lows, higher highs. All right, that's the first thing I want to see. So we can argue the trend is bullish. Second, we have a consolidation area up in this right here, right? This area right here is like a triangle sort of. So that's a trend continuation pattern developing. Okay, those are two good things that I like for a swing trade. Now the next question is price action. All right, now we have a pin bar today, which is good. So the question I have to ask is, what's our risk if we get involved in something like this? Well, because the first thing is all about risk. You know, everyone wants reward and this and that, and what's the reward? Forget the reward. It's all about risk. So in this situation, I have to look at the low here, 62.70. That's where you're measuring your risk from. So you figure around 62.50 is going to be like a place where you'd consider putting a stop. This thing is at 68.05 right now. So you're looking at least $3 of risk, at least. All right, so the next question you have to ask is, if you have to risk $3 based on this structure, can you make $3? Is it within reason? And yeah, based on what I'm seeing here, just on this previous price action, the way this thing is moving, you know, you'd need it, if you took this thing at the break of the pin bar high, 68.48, so you figure 68.75. Okay, you want to give it a little room. You don't want to buy it 1 penny above the break. You want to give it a little room, make it work a bit. You know, you'd have to reach the low 70s, and the recent high on this thing is 72.98, or basically 73. So I think it's within reason to make at least 3 points. If this thing tests that high or breaks out, in theory, you should see a higher high. So yeah, I like it. It's a good candidate for a swing trade. The reward risk makes sense. It's within reason. So I would consider that. In fact, that might be a good one for a trade of the week. I don't know. I may have to steal it from you. All right, cool. Thanks for bringing that one up. So definitely like it. All right, so Paul, is it also a long-term resistance area? Right, so as long-term, so Paul brings up a good point about long-term. Let's look back a bit here because that does matter, all right? So long-term resistance, I'm going back and looking back, you know, over a year or longer, and what I see here is this right here, okay? This area right here, which is what, 71, that 71 area? Okay, so you are facing that, but the thing is, so that's a good point that you bring up. But since the recent momentum is bullish, I would be anticipating the higher high. Now, it reacted to that resistance, okay? It reacted to it. It went from 73 whatever to that low, and now it's holding off. It's not selling off hard. It produced the support after that. So you have to also weight that more recent momentum. You have to give it more weight. So yeah, I would still say it's a good swing trade candidate, even in the face of that potential resistance. Okay, cool. So let me take a look at the other chat here. Let me just say hello real quick. Reza, hey, nice to see you. Benil, DeLucas, and hey, everyone, thanks for joining me. All right, so let me answer some of these questions. If we close below 57.5 on next week's candle, don't you think it is a confirmed top for the season, providing a classic M top stop hunt type of situation on the weekly? Okay, Benil, so Benil's referring to Bitcoin. Let's just jump back to Bitcoin real quick. And so taking out 57.5 on, and he's talking about the week candle. Well, look, let me pull up a weekly real quick. And I mean, look, here's the thing with that. Yeah, you can make that argument, but it's really no different than the failed high situation. It's really no different than that we have on the daily candle. Okay, so if that weekly low is taken out because you have a weekly inside bar, that does imply broader weakness, right? So I would say that if you see a situation like that, that would definitely increase the chance of testing 50K or testing those mid 40s again. But I wouldn't hold on to any absolute opinions because things can change. And remember, the trend has not changed in this thing yet, even though it's starting to, you know, it's generating a sell signal, it's coming off a resistance. This is not a trend change. In order to change a trend, it needs to break some major supports, and it hasn't even thought about that yet. Okay, so just something to keep in mind there. Thanks for bringing that one up. Okay, is RECSI a buy? What is your opinion? Okay, RECSI, is that a stock? Let's see. Again, if you're asking about a coin, please put USD after it so I don't look at the wrong symbol. So I'm assuming that this is a stock on what is this? NCX, the Euronext exchange. Okay, so if I have the right stock here, REC Silicon, REC Silicon, and this question is, what's your opinion? Is it a buy? All right, so trend is bullish. I see higher lows, higher highs. Okay, so that's criteria 1, that's good. Criteria 2, are we near an attractive support or resistance level? Well, you have this little situation right here. So let's look at some recent supports. All right, what kind of supports are we looking at? You have one right about there. And so you're coming off of a support around that 1483 area, and it has a low in place at 1459, right? It established a low. So you do have a place where you can measure risk from. As far as the current price action, which is, you know, where I'd look for the setup, you have a pin bar from a few days ago, but now it's sort of giving it back. So I wouldn't do anything with this at the moment until it produces another reversal type of candle. Either another pin bar above that 14, what is it? Is that 1483? Yeah. Above that 1483, a pin bar or inside bar, another buy signal we need to see. Okay, somewhere above this support. If it closes below that support, then you have a problem. The problem is you have a lower high on your hands at that point. So you have to be careful with that. Okay, so at this moment, I wouldn't do anything with it. I would wait until it produces another buy signal. It would be nice to see another signal develop off of that 1483 area, because that would basically give you a triple bottom, which would be nice. Okay, that would definitely confirm the level even further. So thank you for bringing that one up. So it's a possible buy. You just have to wait for further confirmation. Okay, what about XAG/USD? Okay, silver. So XAG. Now silver has been interesting because of its shortage and its relative strength compared to gold. I mean, silver has been much stronger compared to where, as you can see, I mean, here's silver, right? And when we look at gold, this is gold. Gold got beat up, and silver only just gave us a minor pullback. So as far as XAG, the CFD, you definitely have that going for you. I like that relative strength a lot. You have a support here at that $25 area. And look at this recent price action, right? So you have the trend going for you, you have structure going for you, you have the pin bar from Friday, and it took it out. So there's a buy signal in place right now. All right, it took it out at, what is this here? 2630. So now the thing with the silver CFD is it's a pain. Okay, if you can handle it tends to require more leverage, and the position size, especially if you have a small account, the loss can add up very quickly, because you have to be careful with something like this. You don't want to get too big if you have a smaller account. Okay, smaller account meaning $1,000, $2,000. That's a pretty small account, and this you take one micro lot of this, you can easily lose $300 or $400, and that's a large percentage of a $1,000 account. So you have to be very careful of that. But there is a buy signal. The stop would be probably a good place to place it, would be just below 25. Okay, just below this low here, not this recent higher low that's too tight. And then you have some room to run. Gold, of course, is going to have to run. All right, if gold doesn't run, you're just probably going to see more consolidation. But I do like the potential here. Plus, there's a physical shortage. We've been talking about this a lot. Physical shortage of gold and silver. We have evidence of that. So when that shortage catches up to these paper markets, these things should squeeze somewhat. I mean, silver going back to 30 is within reason. So I definitely like it as a long. All right, you just have to be able to deal with that higher leverage with the CFD. You know, or you can consider a mining stock like AG. You know, look at AG. This is a low float, highly shorted silver mining stock. And so if silver goes somewhere, this thing will go somewhere too. So keep that in mind. Okay, cool. So thanks for bringing that one up. Okay, back to the other chat. Okay, hey Ricky. Okay, DJ, cool. Nice to see you all. Happy Algo USDT. Okay, happy Algo USDT. Okay, interesting. So Algorand and against Tether. Okay. Oh, thank you. Into BTC, got 100 coins. Can you just recap short term next couple of days of Bitcoin, BTC, T-Perp? Sure, no problem. T-Perp, what is that? T-Perp. But thank you for the coins. All right, so Algorand. So here's the thing. These coins, a lot of these altcoins, as many of you know, I have a problem with a lot of them because they should be, a lot of these altcoins don't trade on their own. I know a lot of people don't understand this, but there's a thing called relative strength, relative weakness, and the coins typically follow Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin's making new highs and your coin is not making a new high, that is typically a sign of weakness. Now, so Bitcoin pushed 61K, and this thing's high is over here at, what is this, 184. And as Bitcoin pushed that new high, this thing is just doing this, which means it's kind of struggling with this resistance right here, which is 125, right? $1.25. I don't like that, okay? I don't like that lack of follow through, because if Bitcoin hasn't even really begun to pull back yet. Okay, a couple of thousand points is nothing, like I said. What if Bitcoin goes to like 40K or 45K? What if? Where is this thing gonna go? It couldn't even make a new high. Now, yeah, maybe some news comes out and spikes this thing, which you get that random news sometimes, but I don't like this location at all. As for a long, I just don't like it. So I would hold off on this. The attractive place for a long, remember, you want to be buying supports. Now, I understand the possible breakout that you may be looking at there, because it is breaking a resistance, but I like to see relative to Bitcoin. If Bitcoin was breaking its resistance or giving a buy signal instead of a sell signal, and this thing was breaking out, I would be more optimistic about this. But Bitcoin is not agreeing with this at all. So this is likely just noise, and you're likely to see, you know, more pullback here or more noise. So the attractive price would be the support, okay, which is what, 94 cents. Again, this is, I'm giving this as educational, you know, this is for educational purposes only. I don't want you to take positions just because I'm saying something and then it doesn't work out for you. But I'm just saying here, you know, if it tests that support, that's the area I would be looking as an attractive place, at least for a swing trade. I don't like a lot of these coins for swing trades because of their nature. There's so many stocks that are just better, or other coins at least. But that would be the price I'd be looking for. Okay, if you get a lower high here, if this establishes itself as a lower high, and Bitcoin starts to really pull back, you're probably going to see a lower low. So you don't want to just step in front of it just because it's at a price, you know, at a lower price. You want to wait for confirmation there, okay, and get that double bottom or something. So thanks for bringing that one up. Okay, let me see what else we got here. Okay, so I went through that one, XAG. Okay, hold on. Just coming back here. So that was Algo. Okay, so Happy's asking about another one here. USDT. What is this? Okay, so here's another one. All right, now here's an interesting situation. How much is this thing? All right, it's $3.22. All right. So I like the recent trend or price action here is bullish. We can see that, that's pretty clear. Okay, you have all this action here. Hold on, let me just draw a box on there so people understand what I'm talking about. This is bullish. Okay, that's cool. We have a correction. Okay, that's cool. This correction area, this is really the high probability area right here. This is really what we're most interested in, but we're beyond that right now. So what are we going to do? Well, buying this now is a bad idea because you're going right back into that resistance. And again, Bitcoin doesn't agree. So while something like this may be doing its own thing, because some of these, again, they catch some news and they start doing their own thing. The location is a low probability location. It might break out, it might, but when I see something like this, and you can see from these previous candles back here, people were selling. I mean, look at all those tails. Here, I'm going to make it nice and big so you can see. Obviously, someone was selling something in those, that's why you have all those tails all over the place, right? So that would be a low probability area to buy. If you're long, this would be a good time to unload, reduce risk, just take some profit off the table and see if it breaks out. You do have a higher low, so technically you should see the higher high. But if Bitcoin fails, I would be very suspect, okay? Especially a lot of these coins, you know, they're hot for the moment, but what happens when they're not hot anymore? All right, a lot of us, you know, we sat through that market where for 2 years, when Bitcoin went from 20K to 3K, most of these altcoins were complete garbage. I mean, you could have gotten them, a lot of them, for less than a penny, and this and that, and then you have like now, you have these coins like Theta, which are like $7. I mean, this is ridiculous. Look at this, Theta, okay? For the longest time, this was just a garbage coin. And then some news came out and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. We actually had this one from 18 cents. And I'm looking at this thing's at $7. Anyway, so I know everyone's looking for something like this, but these are lottery tickets. okay? Unless you're an insider and you know stuff that's going on the inside that the public does not know. And with these coins, that's very possible because there's no regulation on them. Then you probably have more of an advantage than everyone else. But if you have to guess like everyone else as far as direction and using charts, come across these altcoins that do this are lottery tickets. Okay, a chart is not really going to help you find one of these in advance. Okay, maybe a continuation pattern, but you're not going to buy it at like 5 cents and watch it go to $7. Okay, not at least not from a chart. Okay, IOTA, IoT, USD. So this is I followed this coin for a long time. Internet of Things. So you have this situation here. You know, you had that recent run. Okay, this is nice when all the altcoins, everyone was having a party, right? Okay, cool. Similar to the other chart we just looked at, high or low, but you have a double top developing here. Okay, double top developing with Bitcoin in pullback mode. All right. Yes, you can argue there's a bullish pin bar developing now, but you have to understand something about these charts. If Bitcoin, since they pretty much follow the leader, and IOTA is one of them, right? Follow the leader, which is Bitcoin, and Bitcoin doesn't agree, whatever you see on these charts typically doesn't mean anything. So this pin bar, since it doesn't really trade on its own, I would ignore the pin bar. Now, if this was a stock that I know could trade on its own, something like a CGC, something like an NVTA, something that is not correlated to the S&P very much, and I saw a pin bar like that off of a higher low, sure, I'd be like, okay, we can do something with that because I know it can go on its own. Not these coins though. Okay, so that's, although you have the higher low potentially, if Bitcoin continues to pull back, this thing will probably pull back and you're better off waiting for the $1 support area, if anything. Okay, you know, that's how I would handle something like that. If Bitcoin finds a higher low sooner, then perhaps you can work with this, okay? If this thing also finds a higher low sooner, that would be a good spot to look for that higher high. I don't know if you're interested in swing trade or position trade. If you can put that in the chat, let me know too, because there are two different perspectives. And I mostly talk about these charts from a swing trade perspective, which is very short-term oriented, okay? All right, so let me see what else we got in the other chat. So I covered XAG. Let's see, how do I get to this level? My trading, okay, I'm not sure what you mean by that question. So you can ask that, maybe you can clarify. PIRG, all right, PIRG. Let's take a look. What is it? Is this a coin? Let me see. If it's a coin, again, please put USD after it. PIRG. I'm gonna try USDT. I'm not getting anything. Wait, PIRG. Oh, is it PIRGF? Because that's the only thing that's showing up. It's an OTC stock. Is this what you're talking about? PIRGF? So if that's the case, well, it's following gold, okay? It's following the mining situation. Now look at this, it's nice and strong. If this is what you're talking about, look at these consolidations. It had this consolidation back in November, December, broke the consolidation, tested the range high of the consolidation recently. Those are the ideal prices if you're going to do anything. Now, something like this, I mean, how much is this thing? $2.39? I don't like swing trading these, right? They tend to be very slow and very difficult to deal with, so you're better off building inventory, right? And this is this type of situation when it tests a level like this, that's a good time to put on some inventory. I mean, it's a relatively cheap stock, so how much you put on is really going to be a function of how much you are willing to invest in the first place. A lot of people make that mistake where they say, okay, I want to invest $5,000 in gold, and they put all $5,000 in at one price. That's a bad idea. It's very high risk. But if you have the $5,000 and you say, okay, well, Premier Gold Mines is one of the ones I'm interested in, and it's at a good price, it's pulled back into support, you don't need to be all on top of the accuracy of the setup because all you're interested in really is just a good price. Okay, and that's a decent level. You could step in front of it because if it goes lower, you're going to buy more anyway. But you don't buy all 5,000 at this $2 area or $2.26 or whatever that is. You buy out of the 5,000, maybe you buy $100 worth or maybe $50 worth, right? That's 1% of your $5,000 investment you buy. Or if you want to maybe put a little more weight on because it's a good price, Maybe you buy, you know, $150, right? 3%, something like that. And now that's of your total investment that you intend to invest. So if it keeps going lower, you can keep averaging into a better price. That's how I like to deal with stuff like that. And you're better off doing that in markets like gold that has a long-term, you know, a long-term scenario rather than some garbage altcoin that who knows if it'll be around in a couple of years, right? High quality is what I'm talking about. High quality stocks that are tied to something like a high quality commodity like gold. I don't think gold is going to zero anytime soon, okay? That kind of thing, especially with our dollar situation. Speaking of the dollar situation, let me just show this real quick. US 10, right? Look at the 10-year note. This implies interest rates, right? The lower the bond price goes, the higher interest rates go because there's an inverse relationship. Look at today's candle. It gave us a bullish inside bar, which is strange. All right, now it's been weak, which was implying higher interest rates, and now we get this little hesitation. Now, this doesn't really mean anything. It could be a failed low, possibly, but if we take out this inside bar low over the next week, and especially remember, we have the FOMC meeting on Wednesday. If there are any surprises, this thing will be affected. We take out that low, that means interest is going higher. Higher interest is not good for things like the stock market. I just wanted to mention that real quick since we had a mention here about that gold situation. Okay, so I think that was the PIRG. All right, so ACB, sure, I'm going to take a look at Aurora. Let me just jump back to the other chat. I got two chats here, by the way, so I'm trying to answer everyone's questions, and I'm trying to do it within a timely manner. Okay, so I'm going to try to be quick here, okay? If I don't answer something fully, just ask again so I can give you a more detailed answer. All right, okay, cool. Michael, all right, so I'm just going back to the chat here. Let me see what I got. Hold on. So I got DJ, okay, no problem. SLNO and VMW short. So SLNO, no, DJ mentioned that earlier. SLNO, Soleno Therapeutics. So this is one of those biotech, right? And that's one thing about these is, again, a lot of them will do their own thing. I like that a lot because some news can come out and this thing is doing its thing. The charts can be more reliable. Gmail sent me 200. Thank you, Gmail. Very nice of you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so the situation like this, DJ. So DJ was talking about this as a potential cheap option stock because we were talking about options the other day. And, you know, options with low premiums that you can buy 6 months out, that kind of thing. Well, here's the thing with this. So we like to find stocks that are cheap and that have potential to really go. You have this gap, okay? I don't know what this gap is all about. Maybe that was, you know, negative news or something or negative earnings. I don't know. But it looks like we have potential to go back to $3.23. Its recent range high was up at $4.35. So, and that was all the way back in June. So this thing obviously wastes a lot of time, okay? So in June it was like at $4 whatever, and it went as low as $1.38. So that's what you're dealing with. You have to keep in mind that's what your potential is. This thing is obviously not going to go to $12 anytime soon, right? So that's one thing you have to consider. In this situation, I mean, it's up today, what, 12 cents? That's actually 7% of this thing. I would rather wait, see if this thing maybe pulls back because you're facing this gap resistance right now. This gaps typically tend to act as support or resistance, in this case a resistance. So if I'm going to put on those options, again, you don't have to be so particular about price or setups if you're dealing with options, but I'd rather wait because, you know, this thing may give you a double bottom here or something. It might pull back a bit. And obviously this thing is not going anywhere anytime soon, so you have time to wait. I would wait to see if you get a better price on something like that. But okay, definitely a good one for the radar, SLNO. And then VMware, he brought up this one too. Now VMware is in a very interesting situation. It's a very nicely defined range, okay, which goes back 6 or 7 or 8 months there. And we've been fooling around at the range high. So there's no trend here, all right? This is a range. And the play on something like this would be range high to range low, or at least the middle of the range, which would be here. All right, so we saw this bearish pin bar the other day, which obviously didn't go anywhere. Okay, we were looking at this the other day. The options on this one are very expensive, or much more expensive, I should say. So in this situation, a day like today, this thing closed up 97 cents. We're closing in a few minutes, so it's not actually closed yet. But you can obviously get put options cheap right now because we're nearer the high. But your bet would be that this thing turns, probability favors you and turns around that range high. We have no evidence of that yet. But by the time the evidence comes, the options are going to be more expensive, right? So you have to keep that in mind. It's an aggressive short. I like the idea of being short, but it's super aggressive because there's nothing that really supports that here. More confirmation would be you take out the 147 quarter low, which is today's low, basically, if you take that out. But of course, if you're dealing with options, you're going to have to pay a higher price at that point. So if you want the cheaper options, again, when I talk about options, I'm talking about at least 3 months out of time value, not 1 month or weekly options. Those are just gambling instruments, okay? You really have to be right. And a lot of times these stocks waste a lot of time, and you have so much working against you with options, it's not worth it. So if you're going to buy options, you need to be 3 to 6 months out, okay? So as far as 3 to 6 months out, can this thing test in the middle of the range? Yeah. So, I have to look, I don't know what the prices are on those put options, but it would definitely be a good candidate, especially if the market pulls back. This is in a great location. It's in a great location to pull back, especially since it's not really in a trend. It's in a range right now. If it takes out the higher high, closes strong and makes that higher high, it might be breaking out into a trend, but it has yet to prove itself. So thank you for bringing that one up. Definitely a good one, as an aggressive short candidate. I agree with it. Okay, but just keep in mind, those things I said. Okay, so Aurora Cannabis. I had that question about Aurora. Let me take a look. Now, ACB. These pot stocks, we send a trade of the week is a free trade thing that we send out every week. And here's the thing. So Tilray, this thing looks just like Tilray. Look at Tilray. Looks just like it. You could see the trade information right there, right? The buy stop is 26. This blue box is a target zone, and we're on our way in there. Okay, we're on our way. We're not in there yet, but target one is 34. So I like to see this price action. Thing is, we were in at 26. That's when the buy stop went off. So we want to look at ACB. Obviously, ACB follows. Not exactly, but it's pretty close. So here's the thing. Buying ACB right now, you're chasing it right now because you know how these things are. They go up to a bit, they go up to a point, they suck everyone in, and then they test their low again, right? They're very erratic. So I would not chase this, okay? You're dealing with this little minor resistance area at around $12. So I would leave it alone until it gives you a better price. If it doesn't give you a better price, there's just other stocks out there. Don't chase it. But a better price would be around this 9.25 area, or possibly the $10 area, which would be sort of in the middle of the range, okay, with a buy signal followed by a buy signal, something in there. That's where I'd like to see ACB if I was going to get back involved. Now, you may say, well, why not buy it now? It's going higher, it looks like, right? And so are the other stocks. CGC is the leader in that space. And look, CGC closed somewhat stronger today, but the chart looks very similar. What I want to see in this sector is a higher low, okay? Because this thing could easily develop a lower high and then push that support again. And these things, how they are. Now, someone mentioned some fundamentals. They're improving on this sector, right? The things are coming along and they're improving. He mentioned some specific details about the fundamentals. So you do have that working in your favor. All right, but again, so they may not test that low, right? ACB may not go to 9.50 or 9.25, but I would like to at least see a higher low. Another ideal situation is it breaks out, okay, and then pulls back to this support. You have to be patient with it, but if you get that higher low here at the $11 area, after it pops up a bit and sucks everyone in, that would be a more probabilistic location for a swing trade if it can produce something like that. But that requires a ton of patience, okay? So that's how I would treat something like that. Because, if you buy it right now, like I said, you buy this thing right now and it does test that low again, you're probably going to bang it out at the bottom. And then it's going to turn on you when you're banging out the worst price, and then it turns back up. So you might as well wait for a better price. All right, that's how I would treat that. Or find something with a better setup. So thanks for bringing up ACB. Okay, no problem. Okay, cool. Now, so let me just back. I have so many questions here. Again, I want to try to answer everyone's question. If I missed your question, I apologize. And I'm going to try to do these simulcast streams once a week. I'm going to try to do them on Mondays. So perhaps you can do that. Or you can just, send me a private message or something on TradingView. HBAR USDT. Okay, let's see. DJ still on India. I don't know if he's still in India. Oh, look at this. Hedera, look at this one. All right, so this is interesting. Here's a great example of a coin, and thank you for bringing this one up. Great example, Alex, of a coin that is doing its own thing, okay, and just ignoring what's going on in the world. Okay, that's nice. If you're not in on something like this, like who makes money on these anyway? Well, people that chased over here and hoped for the best, right? Which, you know, doesn't always work out. Or insiders who knew something before everyone else. And this is the place to sell. This is the place to get out. If you have some from lower prices, what is the high here? 45 cents is the high. You know, this is the herd mentality. When you see something go vertical, and how many did we see go like this back in February, back in January? That is the herd mentality. Let me bring up an example. GameStop, okay? GameStop, and it did it again just a few weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago there. When they go vertical like that, you're dealing with the herd mentality. So you don't want to get caught at the top of that. You don't know where the top is. There's no way to know where the top is. This thing may run to 90 cents, right? Or it may stop here at 50 cents and then just turn back. How many have we seen that have done stuff like that? Let me bring up another example. Something like, was it Link that did that? I mean, look at Link, right? When Link was when Link was the hot coin back here, right? Vertical. Everyone has to have Link because it's the new whatever. They're going to replace Ethereum just like DOT is and whatever. Okay, I'm just exaggerating. And then look what you deal with. Okay, so that's what you have to keep in mind when you deal with the herd mentality directly like that. Here, let me go back to that other coin. So all right, so here's what I'm going to say about it. Good one for the radar. Definitely one to keep an eye on. HBAR USDT. But you need to wait for a support if you want to get involved. And supports right now, the only technical support is around 16 cents, which seems a little far-fetched, right, for this thing to pull all the way back. So the halfway point wouldn't be a bad area to look for support. And that's around 27 cents. So you want to look for support around there. All right. Since these things don't have much history, there's really not much we can go by, right? I mean, look back, there's not a lot of history there. So you have to go by proportional supports. And that would be a good area to consider if it pulls back there and then gives a signal. Now, again, I'm not a big fan of swing trading these. So if you want to take a bite or you know, some sort of investment, why buy the high? Buy it while it's lower, and then perhaps, like, for example, one thing we like to tell people with these is you throw $100 in and see where it goes, right? Hopes for the best. You don't want to place big bets on these things. So it pulls back to 30 cents, you throw $100 in, right? Pulls back to lower, back to maybe 20 cents or whatever, perhaps you throw another $50 in. This thing really gets hammered and becomes out of play, well, you lose $150 or whatever. That's not a big deal. But if it goes somewhere big and you have, you know, $150, $200 worth that you averaged into, well, hey, so you're not going to make $1 million, but you have to understand something. The people that have made big money on these things, they didn't take a lot of risk, okay? Some pothead that bought, you know, 100 Bitcoins 10 years ago because he was buying pot for his friends, right? And he just happened to have all the coins, and now Bitcoin's worth 50,000. How much did he really risk, right? Did he risk $100,000 on something? No, Bitcoin was a joke 10 years ago. Most people didn't even know what Bitcoin was. And if you explained it to someone, they said right away it was a scam. I remember those days very clear. I'm talking about 2013 when Bitcoin was at $100 a coin. So just something to keep in mind. Low risk, okay? And if it turns out, like for example, Theta was a perfect example. You could have bought $100 worth and at 18 cents and at $7, that little risk was worth a very sizable reward. That's how you want to play these things. So that if they go to zero, you're not worried about it, okay? But people just, they bet too big, and you know, you're really asking for trouble because the amount of risk you have to take and what's working against you is just very high. So I'd be careful with that. Okay, so that's my rant on that. Thank you for bringing that one up, Alex. Definitely like it for the radar. ESPR, okay, so another biotech, therapeutics. Let's take a look. So range bound. I see a range low at 26.13. I see a range high up in here at 39, basically 39 and a quarter, right in this area here. Let me highlight that. Hold on. Around 30, well, around this area there, okay? Now, you're right in the middle of this range. So I don't, even though you do have a higher low right here, okay, that's all good, but you're right in the middle of the range. So this is what I like to call like the 50-50 area. 50%, it may go higher, it may not, right? And you'd be chasing it. So I would rather, the higher probability prices are going to be near the range low. So if you can get a retest of, what is that? 27 and a quarter. So basically 27, 26s. If you can get a retest of that, that would be more ideal than buying it here. Okay, at least for a swing trade. Here, like I said, it might go your way, but it's iffy. It's 50-50. I want something that's better than 50-50 if the market can provide that opportunity. And those would be the price range. That would be the price range I'd look for, not these prices. Okay, so again, you could buy it and it may go your way and it happens to work. But, you know, a lot of times that'll breed bad habits. And when, you know, in the long run, you typically will lose more than you win. Okay, especially when psychology starts to enter the picture and that kind of stuff. Okay, so thanks for bringing that one up. All right, so Ricky talked about Bitcoin. Second target was 59K, because I know we had a couple of trades out there. Right, so that means we're out of 2/3, right, of our Bitcoin swing trade there, which is nice. Okay, so Carlos, Link. So Link forecast, right? So here's the situation with Link. So we have a swing trade on this, all right? And the swing traders entered at 28.50. It reached the 31 area, right? What's this high here? 31.84, and let us out at target 1. But we still have 2/3 on. Now, I don't like the way Link is behaving relative to Bitcoin. I mentioned earlier that if you're in the Link trade and you don't like this idea of Link going back to break even or going to the stop, then it'd probably be a good idea to reduce your risk and take another third off, even though we're not at target 2, just to reduce the risk, because I don't like the relative weakness. If Bitcoin pulls back seriously, this thing is in a position here to pull back further, right? We have a lower high right here, and this thing can easily test the low in this area here or make a lower low. That's what the structure says right now. I don't know if that's going to play out that way, but I'm basing this relative to Bitcoin. Now, if Bitcoin finds support earlier, this thing may find a higher low somewhere in here, which then means we're consolidating, and that higher low should eventually lead to a push back into the target zone. So that's what I'd look for, because basically what you have in here right now, it may not look obvious yet, but that's basically a triangle. Okay, if I just erase some of these boxes, this large blue rectangle is basically a triangle, right? I could draw a trend line connecting these lows. I could draw a trend line connecting these highs. They converge and you have a triangle. So if you break out of that triangle, that's a trend continuation pattern. If you break higher, so it's within reason. Okay, so something to keep in mind. But this price action at the moment is not favorable. So that's where you have to decide what you're comfortable with and what you're not. Some people that say, hey, I'm playing with house money, I don't care. I have a stop in place, I don't care. Let the market worry about it. And that's being a strong hand, okay? So thanks for bringing that one up. All right, back to the other chat. Let me see what else. And again, I appreciate everyone's questions. No problem, Doc. Okay, Han the Gibson guy. Okay, saw your stream. Oh, cool, thanks, Han, I appreciate that. Okay, what about US 30? All right, so the 30-year bond. Now, ooh, all right, so, no, that's not it. Hold on. Are you talking about US 30? Are you talking about the bond, or are you talking about the Dow Jones? Because the Dow Jones obviously is on these highs here. It's up 160 points today. Something I have to say about, if you're talking about the Dow, you know, this is where news outlets and stuff, they'll make a big deal out of this, and they'll say, oh, the Dow is on all-time highs and blah, 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 blah. This is only 30 stocks. So it's not a very good representation of the entire market, okay? If one of these or a couple of these 30 stocks have a great day or something, you're going to see this. But it's not a representation of all the sectors. The S&P is a much better thing to look at when you're trying to judge the broader market. And the S&P, as you can see, while it's on its high, it doesn't look anywhere near as strong as the Dow, right? Now, the S&P is obviously 500 stocks that represent different sectors. So that to me is, again, that's a red flag. And if we fail here, if we produce a failed high like Bitcoin, or we get that double top, I'm not optimistic at these prices. I'm just not, especially with all the potential problems that we have going on here in this country. I just, why am I going to buy into these highs or invest into these highs, especially when news outlets and stuff encourage it? No way. So I could be wrong. We may break out. We may break out. We may go higher. We have these stimulus checks coming. Everyone's going to put their money into the stock market, right? All that other nonsense. But I don't buy highs. I wait for a pullback. All right, even if we pull back to the middle of the range, if the market's going to go higher, there will be more opportunities to buy. So I'm not worried about that. So just if you can clarify if you meant US 30, the Dow Jones, or if you meant the bonds. Okay, thoughts on Bitcoin. So DJ on TradingView, I talked about Bitcoin earlier. So if you want to rewind, I talked about it a couple of times. So I started off the whole video with Bitcoin. Okay, Shimist, greetings. Okay, I have full confidence in your analysis. Should I keep BTC and LTC for a year? All right, that's an interesting question. As far as long-term investing, sure, I'm not bearish on Bitcoin. You know, I talk about some bearish situations, but I'm talking about price action. I'm not talking about trend. The trend is bullish. It hasn't changed yet. I'll be more concerned about the long-term trend if we take out 37K. That's the trend support. It's actually going to be slightly higher now. I have to do the measurement. It'll be slightly higher. But in that area, price takes that out, I would be concerned. But one thing you should consider, if you own Bitcoin, you've owned it from great prices, you own Litecoin, you own it from much lower prices, when Bitcoin pushes highs, okay, and Litecoin, when they push highs, it's a good habit to just unload some. You should be thinking on highs, reduce risk. People think, oh no, it's going higher. I'm not gonna, why am I gonna get out when it's going higher? Buying highs is bad, but what's worse is when you hold through the high and you had a chance to sell and now it pulls all the way back. Oh, I should have gotten out, but I didn't know. Right, when things look great, that's usually the worst time for them, okay? That's just the way this works. I know it's not intuitive, but that's the way it works, okay? So, in this situation, like I said, take something off the table, not a lot, maybe 10% of your position, 15%, lock in some profits. You can always buy that back, you know, at a potentially better price. And if it doesn't pull back much and it breaks out, buy your 10% back. Whatever you sold, buy it on the breakout. You're going to be in it anyway, right? That's the idea behind something like that. But you want to be putting on more inventory at attractive prices, okay? And we're not really at any attractive prices yet. 50K would be the first one, and we're just not even close. All right, so just that's what I'd say about that, about Bitcoin and Litecoin. So as far as a year, I can't give it a time like that. You have to look at the way the structure unfolds. So like I said, pushing all-time highs, unload some. Pushing supports, consider buying some back, okay? Should Bitcoin be higher over a year? I mean, technically right now, it's in a bullish trend, so I would expect prices to be higher. My next inflection point on Bitcoin is up here at 66K, as you can see. And we haven't touched it yet, but it could be there in the next couple of weeks, maybe, couple of months, I don't know. But just keep something in mind. December of 2017, January of 2018, everyone was predicting 30K Bitcoin in a couple of weeks. Bitcoin's going to be at 100,000 by December of 2018. And March of 2020, Bitcoin was at 3,000. So no one saw it coming. People can say, oh, but that was because of this and blah, 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 blah. Right, but the point is no one saw it coming. No experts, right, including myself. I didn't predict 3,000. All I knew was I wasn't going to be buying at 20K or 19K or 18K and hold it. I knew that much. And if you go back to my analysis back then, you could see all the warnings I put out about buying at those particular prices. Anyway, so just something to keep in mind, okay? All right, so cool. Let me get back. I go on these rants, and I talk forever. Like Michael said, I can talk about the weather for an hour. I always bring that up, Michael. I know I repeat myself a lot. All right, let me see what else we got here. All right, so I went over Esper, Link. Okay, went over that. Can you please look at Costco? Okay, what is the ticker for Costco? Let me just have to type it in here. Cost. Okay, so COST. All right, so here's the thing. This would actually be, if I was into shorting stocks, I usually like to avoid shorting stocks, but this would be a short candidate. Why? Well, this structure is definitely not bullish, okay? Now, going back, okay, we can argue that the broader trend was bullish, but here's the thing. it should not have broken this support here. What is this price? 350. Should not have broken that. That's a problem. So now you're facing a broken support and a potential lower high. So I would not buy this here. For something like Costco, I would wait for a test of low or some sort of stability, double bottom at least, before getting involved in it. Because right now you're facing a potential lower high, all right? And that lower high can develop somewhere in here, especially just under this old resistance, old support, new resistance of that 350 area. So I would not buy this thing. If you have some, maybe reduce risk or something. I don't know what to tell you about that one, but definitely not along. All right. And if you're looking to buy, like I said, wait for a pullback, wait for stability, wait for a higher low or double bottom at minimum. All right. So that's Costco. Thanks for bringing that one up. Okay. Let me just see what I got in the other chat here. Do you mind giving an update on Tilray based on your trade of the week? Okay. Yeah. So, okay. Good question, WJ, on Tilray, because again, TLRY, like I mentioned this before, no, I wouldn't buy this thing now. If you missed the 26, the trade is in play now. I mean, we're at $30. You're taking too much risk. Not worth it now. That's the thing with these. Look, you're going to miss them. You're not going to catch them all. Let it run. Don't chase. There'll be other setups. There'll be other stocks. So definitely don't chase. Okay. Okay, cool. No problem. What is your opinion about INFN stock? Okay. INFN. Let's take a look. Infinera. So here's the thing. All right. Broader trend here is bullish. Let me just take a look at the support and resistance levels here real quick. Hold on 1 second. All right. So we have old resistance, new support right there. And it bounced right off of it. All right. Look at that. Nice bounce. The trend is generally, I see higher lows, higher highs generally. I see a consolidation situation right here. Now, at this moment, buying this right now would be chasing it. Okay, you missed the high probability area, which of course we can see it after the fact. But if you're not in from these prices here, you missed it. Because now, look, if you're buying this thing now, look where you're buying it. You're buying it right in the middle of this consolidation zone. It's a great place to sell. Like if I had bought it at one of these lows, this would be definitely a target area to get out of some of it because you're right back into the middle of the range, right? The 50-50 area. So I would definitely be reducing risk here, not buying, not taking this. People chase into this stuff. Bad place to be doing that. All right. It may work sometimes, but like I said, over the long run, it turns out that, you lose more money than you make doing that. So in this situation, just like the stock that I looked at before, or the thing that I looked at before, look for the pullback. Look for the pullback. Okay. Possibly a higher low in this area here, which is what? Basically the 930, 950 area, high 9s, low 10s, something like that would be an area to consider, okay, for a possible long, or if it can test lower, great. You want that to be followed by a setup. Again, that's for a swing trade. I'm assuming you're talking about a swing trade. Okay, cool. So thanks for bringing that one up. All right, let's see what else. Man, I got a lot of questions. I'm probably not going to be able to answer them all. So again, I apologize in advance. Yeah, I'm going to be wrapping this up here in a few minutes. So let me just get to a few more. And I appreciate all your questions. Again, if I missed your question, hey, feel free to PM me, private message me, or you can ask it next time. I'm going to try to do this once a week. Okay, so let me see what else we got. Rich, GOEV. Oh, GoEV. This is an EV stock. Canoe Incorporated. GoEV is their symbol, but they're called Canoe. Okay, so here's the thing. First thing, we don't have a lot of price history on this, right? So that's right. I don't like that because there's not a lot of structure for me to work with. Number one. Number two, I want to look at resistance levels. For one, we have a lower high there, and we have this failed low situation, which came off of here. Now, I would have called this a high-risk play, a week ago or whatever, because of that location and because of the lack of structure. So you get one of these bounces. Okay, that's nice. But like I said, just like with the other stock, if you're not in from those great prices, now you're chasing it, especially going into the middle of the range. So not a good place to be buying, okay? If you're in it, like I said, unload some, you're in the middle of the range. That would be a good place to take profit or reduce risk. That's all I would do with this right now. Otherwise, wait for a pullback, wait for a higher low or a potential double bottom. So, your potential double bottom would show up here in that area, or your potential high or low, which is possible. Now, keep in mind for stuff like that, and again, this would have been a nice swing trade. You want to get price confirmation at those locations. The location alone is not enough. Okay, something to keep in mind. People just see a price, oh, a good price, I'm just going to get in. But if momentum is not in your favor and there's no evidence of it, you could just be buying a random price. And how many times where you've bought a support and it just goes right through it like it wasn't even there? So you have to be able to minimize those situations, okay? So that's where confirmation comes in. Okay, cool. Hey, Rich, no problem. Back in the U.S. Oh, okay, DJ's back in the U.S. Cool. Isaac, man, that was like an hour ago we were talking about that. Can you look at BAT and DOT? All right, Isaac, so BAT, basic attention token. Let's take a look. So this one has been strong, all right? This one has been sort of ignoring the Bitcoin situation. There are higher lows and higher highs. I was surprised to see this thing pushing 86 cents. I was kind of surprised. Now, at the moment, you do have this higher low developing, right? You have a support, an old resistance, new support at 64 cents, so the mid-60s. You have a pin bar developing now, okay? So that is a potential buy signal. But here's the thing. I go to Bitcoin, okay, and I say, well, what's Bitcoin doing? And Bitcoin, there's nothing there. There's no buy signal. There's no inside bar. This is not a pin bar because although there's a tail on it, the open to close, that range is too wide. So nothing good there, right? This thing, Bitcoin, could be going lower. So what does that imply about basic attention token? Well, this bullish setup here is not going to be as reliable because if Bitcoin really pulls back, it doesn't matter how many pin bars I get. This thing is probably going to go lower, even though it hasn't, it's been sort of following, like Bitcoin made the new high, this thing's been on its highs. Okay, that's good, but Bitcoin doesn't agree with it. So I would hesitate for that reason, okay? Yes, you do have a buy signal in here though. If you want to be aggressive and you want to give that a try, you're looking at risk measured at around the high 70 area. So like maybe 76 would be a good place for a stop, 76 cents, and see if it runs from there. But like I'm just saying, how much further is this thing going to go if Bitcoin really pulls back? You need to be able to justify that risk. So again, if you're risking, what is this thing at right now? 77 cents is the close. Okay, so no, the low is, 69 cents is the low. So you're figuring your stop is going to be at 68 cents, 67 cents. You're risking about 10 cents. You need to be able to make at least 10 cents to justify this, okay? I guess that's within reason. I just don't like the fact that a lot of these things don't trade on their own, and Bitcoin is not in a favorable situation right now as far as new loans. So that's basic attention token. Now, DOT, USD, DOT against the dollar here. Let me see. Okay, here we'll look at Bitfinex. So as you can see, I sent this trade actually reached all three targets. I sent this one a while ago. It went beyond 33.50, I believe, right? The high here was like 38 or whatever it was. Yeah. So now it's consolidating right now, okay? DOT is consolidating. There's a clear triangle. That's a triangle. Obviously, there's a red candle today. It's an outside bar. I would expect that with Bitcoin doing what it's doing. So at this moment, there's nothing to do with DOT. There's no swing trade. There's no position trade. There's nothing here. Let it test the range low at least. See if it can go back to 31.5. That would be the first place I'd be looking for a reversal if Bitcoin can agree with it. If not, you're looking at 27 cents around there to see if it reverses off of there. Again, Bitcoin needs to agree. I would be open for a swing trade on DOT if it can produce something like that. All right, I don't like that Bitcoin made the new high and this thing has not made the new high. Similar to Litecoin, that kind of stuff. I don't like that, but that doesn't mean it won't change. Okay, so those are the levels I'd be looking for. All right, so let me see what else we got here. Michael, are you in the SQ? Oh, DJ's asking a question. SQQQ. Yeah, that SQQQ is going to give us a little bit of a hard time, but I'm not worried about it. Not yet, anyway. The SQQQ, we got that thing at $14 basically. That's where I bought when I bought the options. It's at $13.38. I'm not worried about this thing yet because we just got into it. But a couple of weeks go by and it's not going our way. I'm probably going to have to dump it. All right, we have to see. But again, as we know, those are aggressive options trades. Please take a look at PRNT. I'm looking at a good re-entry point. Okay, PRNT. Let's take a look real quick. All right, I'm going to, man, I got a lot more questions. So again, I'm probably not going to be able to answer everyone's questions. Let me just see how I'm doing with time. I'm going to wrap this up here. I'm going to give it a few more minutes, okay? By the way, if you like what I'm doing, please press the like button or the thumbs up, whichever chat you're in. And that's valuable feedback for me. I appreciate that. Okay, ARK. So this is ARK Investments, right? There with the really aggressive stocks and all that kind of stuff and whatever. Okay. So now this question is, I'm looking at a good re-entry point. All right. Well, there was one here, right? The pin bar, but of course we missed that. That was tough anyway. That would have been very tough to take. Trend is clearly bullish, all right? But that was a single pin bar, especially after such a steep corrective move, all right, and the lower high. I would have waited on that. I wouldn't have taken that pin bar either, okay? So we got the initial push off. I would be looking for something, just like some of those other ones, I'd be looking for a test of this level here, which is around 36.89. So you figure around low 37s, high 36s, or perhaps you get the high or low. Those are the areas I'd be looking for, especially relative to where the stock market is right now. Okay, these things are all trying to pop, but right now, this thing can develop into a lower high. The market's closed, but you know, if the market pulls back, right? How did the Nasdaq close? Let's take a look real quick. Closed strong, up 147 points, right? And it took out yesterday's high, Friday's high, 130.95, and we're at, oh no, did we? Hold on. 130.100 is today's high, okay? And we closed at 130.84. We have to see how this thing works out tomorrow or going into the FOMC meeting. If this thing sells off by Thursday or Friday, we're probably going to see a lot of these stocks like PRNT produce or establish, have lower highs in place. That's why I would not chase these, especially with the location of the way that NASDAQ is right now. I could be wrong. They may go higher, but I just don't like this vulnerable position. Now compare this, right? And just case in point, compare this. You know, let's just go back in time a little bit. Look at these lower highs, right? Look at the difference between something like this, right? A nice lower, higher low. Nice higher low situations compared to what it's doing now. Okay? We have a lower high that we're dealing with rather than just a series of higher lows and higher highs. We have a lower high. And so that's sort of a warning flag for me. I would be careful. So I wouldn't chase this. Anyway, that's my thing on that. Thanks for bringing that one up. Okay, let me see what else we got here. And I see people sending me private messages. That's cool. I'm probably not going to be able to get to them like right this second, but I appreciate you. I will answer them. Okay, let me see what else we got here. Okay, XNSUSD, XSNUSD. Okay, let's take a look. Ooh, one of these. All right, so again, this is one of those, again, a lottery ticket, because this formation, there's no way to know to buy something like this in this situation, only after the fact. They'd be like, oh, yeah, high or low, and yeah, oh, yeah, cool. After the fact only, right? Before the fact, when it looks like this, I would say, I don't know here. That's a 50-50, I don't know, right? Because you do have these little lower highs. Yeah, you can argue it's a high or low, but there's nothing that says it's going to do this. So at this point, can't chase it. You're fooling around resistance right here. You're fooling around this right here. So I wouldn't buy it here. If you're in it, I would definitely unload some. Just lock some profit in. It's always a good habit. I don't care if this thing triples from here. It's always a good habit to lock something in. You're never going to get the high. Just remind yourself of that. You're never going to lock in the high. Trying to play highs is like, it's the same as gambling, trying to lock in the high. And it's usually more costly than it is not. So I would wait for, if you're going to get involved in something like this, at least wait for a test of support. And your support is around here. 39, yeah, around that 396 area, something like that. That would be a good place to think about it. Okay, right now you're at 49, so you figure it needs to pull back, you know, to that 39 area for a possibility. At least it's a more attractive price than where it is now. Is this thing going to keep going vertical and be at 70 cents tomorrow? It might be, but you're looking at a pin bar right now, and the risk is just very high. It's just not a good habit. You have to understand something about timing markets. It's a behavioral thing, okay? People focus on the chart. They want a tool to tell them this and that, but it's really a behavioral thing. And if you can express the effective behavior consistently over time, meaning you sell into highs, lock in profits. It doesn't matter how high it is, you lock in some profit and you're buying into lows. Generally, you should do better over time, okay, as opposed to buying highs and selling lows, which is what the average investor does, or the herd. Okay, on the average. All right, so that's that one. Workhorse, WKHS. All right, I'm going to do a few more of these. So these EV stocks, Workhorse, they had that problem with, you know, the post office wasn't going to use their trucks or whatever, right? And that's what knocked the wind out of it. So since then, we do have some price stability, okay? Double bottom situation. Pin bar right here at 11.89. That's all nice. But here we are. If you're not in from that double bottom, now you have to take a lot more risk. I mean, this thing closed at 17.83, okay? Trying to break out. I just think there are better setups out there. You could go for the breakout on something like this, but the question is, what kind of potential are you looking at versus the risk? So you could put a stop maybe around the 15.5 area, which is right in the middle. It's very likely to get stopped out just on some noise. I mean, right there. The better place to put a stop would be all the way over here, okay, which is, again, in that 11.5 area. So you're risking anywhere from 3 to, what, 8 points, depending on where you put that. So that means you need to, depending on where you put that stop, this thing needs to justify those 3 to 8 points. Can this thing run to 20 from here? It closed at 17.83, so it'd have to be basically 21. That's within reason. It's still within reason. It's just, I just think there are better setups out there. The reward risk isn't bad. I just think there are better setups. And how's Tesla doing? Okay, Tesla's got a higher low in it. It may have an effect. There may be an effect there. But keep in mind, if the NASDAQ and everything pulls back hard, even though those EV stocks have a tendency to do things more on news, they're a little bit more news driven. If the pullback is dramatic enough, nothing really escapes that pullback. So just keep that in mind as well. Okay, like I wouldn't call a swing trade on that Workhorse. I wouldn't call a swing trade on that. It's too risky. Okay, and I'm very conservative with the swing trades, especially when I have to share them with other people. Okay, confused on wave 4 intra-wave counts. Can a wave B of a broader wave 4 be? Yes. To answer your question about wave 4, yes. Let's go back to Bitcoin real quick. That's an important question with wave counts. Wave 4s, which are typically corrective waves, right? They can, obviously, a corrective wave typically will unfold in 3 legs, right? The first leg, which is the A wave, right? Count 5 waves in it. This could be the A wave. Now the B wave, which is the tricky one, can typically be 3 waves, right? Leg A, which was the first push, leg B, which was the pullback, and leg C, which can be an impulse wave, which you can count 5 little mini waves in there, which can take the market to a new high. But here's where, you know, I saw something earlier about wave, you know, the B wave can go to 66K. I don't believe that, okay? Wave B shouldn't go that far. It should fail where it is here, okay? This is what it should be doing if we're in that B fake out wave, because typically B is a fake out. So that's what we have here so far. And if that's the case, then if this is a wave C of the broader wave 4, it should be a pretty significant and steep wave. It has yet to prove itself. But if it takes out 50K, that will confirm for me that we're in the wave C, which we would have to be able to count 5 waves. And that would be the first part of the broad wave 4 consolidation. Keep in mind, consolidations aren't restricted to just 3 legs. They could be a compound consolidation, which is very hard to trade through, like gold, right? XAU, USD. This what you see here is a compound consolidation. It's basically multiple patterns connected together, and they're very hard to trade. So Bitcoin can turn into something like this. We have to see. Okay, so thanks for bringing that one up. All right, I got to wrap this up. Let me see how am I doing with time. Yeah, I got to wrap this up here. I'm going to just answer one more question. All right, again, I appreciate everyone's questions. Let me see what I got here. Okay, I went through, hold on, I'm just trying to get through the other chat. BTC, hold on, I'm trying to catch up. All right, oh yeah, that one with perp. I didn't get that one with perp. I didn't understand that. Okay, I wasn't online. Can you, okay, Bitcoin, answered that one. Do you think 10-year longs are most important for what's going to happen in all markets? 10-year longs? What do you think about the silver shorts that have to be paid out? All right, so all that stuff you're talking about, fundamental stuff. I mean, as far as the silver shorts, I've heard conspiracy theories forever about how there's no silver. Silver's going to be at 200 when they have to take delivery. So I wouldn't go by any of that stuff. There's been a physical shortage of gold and silver for a while. The paper markets don't care. Obviously, they're much more easily manipulated with paper. So I wouldn't go off on that stuff. I would just really, if you're for short-term oriented, I would look at the charts, right? Look for the signals on the charts and the patterns. Long-term, I would be looking more at the levels. But what do you think of the 10-year longs? I'm not sure what you mean by that question. Okay, H-bar, retrace seems 40-ish today. Is this run done for a time? So H-bar, I think that's the one I went over before, right? H-bar, and is that the, this one? Is that the H-bar USD? Is that this thing here? Must be. We're at 39 cents. Yeah. Okay. So it's, you know, there's no way to know. You have a pin bar developing, but how many of these have we seen? I saw this. I used to see this in Cardano, right? And like, oh, Cardano is pulling back from 70 cents. Oh yeah, it's probably going to go back to 50 cents. Next thing you know, it's at $1.20, right? So I would just not make any judgments on this. All I know is I would not buy here, and I would wait. If it's going to pull back, I'd wait for a proportional pullback. So at least 50%, you know, pullback relative to this move, something like that, which puts you at around 28 cents, 29 cents, 30 cents. I would wait for something like that, see if it can produce that, okay? All right, one more question and that's it, I'm done. Okay, so let me just, I'm gonna go back to my other chat here, and let me see, I answered IOTA, if you go back. Okay, HS, because HS always asks about, this, you know, I suspect that this is HS's brother. I don't know if this is HS, always putting that question out about VeChain. But okay, HS or HS's brother. I know I told you guys to take some profits on VeChain a while back, and now you're probably mad at me because this thing is higher. But this thing is at 8 cents. Okay, and you got this vertical move. You can't do anything with this now. You just can't. I mean, I wouldn't chase it. If you happen to be in it, I know one of you told me that this thing was. You know, you were in from a great price and you got out. If you're still in some of it, never a bad idea to lock some profits in here. But to get back in, I wouldn't do it here. You have to wait for a pullback. Like, I don't care how high this thing goes. I don't care if this thing runs to whatever. I would wait for a support. 56, yeah, well, 0.56 or 5.5 cents, somewhere in there, or maybe slightly lower. Keep in mind, a lot of these altcoins, they're still benefiting from a lot of froth, it seems. I mean, this is definitely one of them. I mean, that's all-time highs, right? While Bitcoin is going nowhere right now. So that would definitely catch my attention. But no matter what, I just can't buy this. All right, it's got to pull back. Keep in mind, when the music stops on these things, they're going to get ugly, right? As great as they look right now, you have to keep that in mind, right? These things are like lottery tickets, a lot of them. So look, great chart. No question, it's strong. But the risk, I just can't take this type of risk. I don't like to buy with the herd. So I would wait for a pullback. Maybe it'll go a little higher before it pulls back. But as you can see, nothing is immune to a pullback. It will pull back at some point. That's when I'd start looking at the supports. And the first support is around that 5.5 cent area. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. Again, if I missed your question, please send me a message or, you know, come to one of our chats or whatever, and I'll be happy to answer it there. I want to thank you all for your great questions and all your participation. I see so many questions here. So again, I feel bad. I'm sorry I can't answer them all, but I gotta wrap this thing up. So again, thank you all for your great participation. Join me next time. Again, I'm going to try to do this on TradingView once a week, and it'll probably be on Mondays. So join me next time as well. Okay. So thank you all again for watching. My name is Mark Principato, Mark P Markets, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.